want me to pull out when no, you don't have to.
Cool. Yeah, slightly against their will, but we've got so many comments in the last couple of days, and Aaron and everyone has been saying the house is actually haunted with all these creaks and whatnot, that we have to end this game, finally.
Wait, so we played it until we end it? Like, why
Yeah.
are we playing this again?
So if you remember way back to when I first played it months ago, I accidentally turned on the lights as well, and everything was wrong, and then Midnight Man haunted me. But when we played it again, and we finished it perfect, it was fine. So last time when we played it, the lights came on again accidentally, so basically the same situation's happening. We're getting haunted here, and we have to finish it right. Apparently that wasn't the only rule that we broke. There's a lot of bad things.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, because they didn't walk all the time.
So if we end it right this time, we don't have to do this again.
Correct.
But we do not turn lights this time.
So yeah, this could be the last time. Well, since we already kind of know the rules, I'm just going to go quickly back through them.
Do need to do that.
Freaking get started.
Hey, that's what you can't read the foundation.
Right.
Yeah, I can basically like
Sorry guys.
the SCP Foundation told the world resist. So the start turn moment. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if you want, you can do it with lots of fun times. And my room in here, or
As I was explaining the rules, what the heck?
that's a fun time for your house.
Already, god dang, that's not a good sign. Like we were saying, like
Your
there's
room
been noises
done.
and thuds and footsteps throughout this entire week, so that's like why we're doing this. Alright, so yeah, as soon as we get back in and blow out our candle, we can relight it and the game starts. The only couple rules that we need to do is keeping the candle and keep moving throughout the entire time. One person gets a lighter, and we can carry around salt if need be, because that's the only thing that stops the ghost, and the game ends at 3:33 p.m. Wait, what? There's something out there? Okay, let's start this. Let's begin. Just another thing. No lights going on. No exiting the house. Do the ritual 100% correctly. So
wait, so you can't leave the house?
No, can't leave the house. I don't want to risk it. I don't actually know what's gonna happen, but like last time I failed and all this stuff happened, so I don't want to do it again. Just for you guys that haven't watched the last one, the Midnight Man causes like hallucinations, crazy stuff, like thuds, walking around footsteps, like haunting us. He grabbed my leg. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but like I've woken up the past 2 nights because of something grabbing me. Freaking crazy. So let's get started. Hey everyone, let's sign their names, sign their lives away. Okay. And then we'll get out the thumbtacks. You hear something? Good God. Again, guys, I apologize for the whole YouTube monetization. I can't show everything, but we did get our invitations all set up. How you guys feeling?
Not bad this time.
Not as bad? You were still hearing stuff, though. Well, speaking of that, though, diabetic people have like a little thumbtack. It's so much easier than a thumbtack. God dang it. Throughout this entire time, we have still been hearing things from outside. Again, that could be like anything, but it sounded like footsteps outside.
Shaver Shop's Black Friday sale. Save up to 80%. VS Suits Smooth and Wave Styler only $39. Save 80%. Home Edits Duo IPL now $99. GHD Air Hair Dryer only
Let's head back to
$170.
my room. Done. Okay, follow me. Here we are. So this is your cell, your room, huh? Yep. It's pretty nice. I know. Let's do this. Done. That's today. Yes, anyway, I have to go to work, okay? Okay, see ya. Let's pretend that didn't happen. I'll be right back. Here we are. Let's pretend that didn't happen.
holidays are a time for family meals. It's the time of the year where we have a big appetite for all our home-cooked favorites, but beware of the entities that have a big appetite for you. The holidays were always a big deal in the Escobar household because it was a time for festive feasts. Giselle and her younger brother Paolo gorged themselves on all the food their grandmother made, despite the story she told about La Pisadera, who would visit them if they fell asleep with their bellies too full. Their grandmother claimed the hag punished gluttons by crawling on their chests at night and feeding off their fear, all while they helplessly watched half awake. Giselle knew their grandmother only told them stories like that to scare them, but as she watched, her skinny younger brother scarfed down a third helping. She couldn't figure out how he could eat so much and still look so frail. "You okay?" Giselle asked. Paolo shrugged. "I'm just tired and very hungry. I had nightmares again last night." That night, in their room, Paolo fell asleep in his bed almost as soon as the lights went out, but Giselle couldn't sleep. She was worried about her too skinny brother and his too big appetite. As she stared at the ceiling, she suddenly heard someone moving through the house. It sounded too slow and deliberate to be one of her relatives. With a slow creak, she heard their bedroom door open. The hairs on her neck stood up, and she felt something coming closer. From the corner of her eye, she saw clawed fingers reaching out. A voice laughed softly, and then someone quickly jumped over Giselle. "Paolo!" Giselle gasped. When she saw the figure climb on top of her brother, it was a long, slender, haggard, demonic-looking woman with filthy claws. It bent in contortions to perch on Paolo's chest. "Paolo, move!" Giselle shouted. And with that, the demon turned to her with a jagged smile. It was La Pisadera. Giselle jumped out of bed and pulled on her brother, but La Pisadera pushed her to the floor. The girl landed on her back, and the hag was on her in an instant. Giselle's body became numb. All she could do was watch in paralyzed horror as claws dug into her chest. La Pisadera moved its wretched face close to Giselle's. As Giselle's terror grew, the creature's milky yellow eyes glowed brighter. Eventually, La Pisadera left their room, and the two siblings slowly fell back into an unrestful sleep. The next morning, Giselle asked Paolo if he remembered what happened that night. He shook his head while he kept on eating more and more cereal. Giselle was exhausted, very hungry too, as she poured herself another bowl of cereal. "Something is wrong," their grandmother said as she brought them juice. Giselle looked at her brother and they both began to cry. "We ate too much last night," Giselle explained. "La Pisadera came, just like you said." Their grandmother snatched their food away and sent them to their room. "No more for you today," she said. That night, at dinner, Giselle and Paolo were surprised to see the neighbor's kid, Alejandro, at the dinner table. Their grandmother told him he would be staying the night with them. Giselle and Paolo watched as their grandmother filled Alejandro's plate and only gave them half portions. They were so hungry, and watching Alejandro feast was agony. The siblings both asked for more food, but their grandmother ignored them as she offered the neighbor his second dessert. That night, both Giselle and Paolo stared at the ceiling of their room, unable to sleep from being so hungry. Meanwhile, Alejandro slept on a cot, snoring happily. Eventually, they heard the laugh of La Pisadera as she crept into their room. The hag leapt onto Giselle's chest and once more tried to feast on the girl's fear. After a moment, it hissed its disappointment and jumped onto Paolo, but found no sustenance. It sniffed the air and smiled as its eyes landed on the snoring Alejandro. Soon, the neighbor was half awake and paralyzed as the demon hag fed. That morning, a very tired and hungry Alejandro left their home complaining of nightmares. their grandmother prepared them a sensible breakfast, Giselle and Paolo had many questions for her. She explained that an all-encompassing evil like La Pisadera cannot truly be defeated, only passed on to someone else. Those that overindulged before sleep were in fact ringing the dinner bell for the evil entity, and now that they knew the truth of it, to always be wary of gorging themselves on food, especially if you are someone else's guest. Want more Something Scary? You can hear more stories over on the Something Scary podcast, available for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Want to support your local spots and
The Foundation ordered a male D-Class personnel to torture D-3032 with a combat knife until she opened the door. After 2 hours of tormenting, D-3032 died from blood loss. She made no attempt to open the door in the entire process. Hello everybody, I'm the Rubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-303. SCP-303, also known as the Doorman, is a nude, sexless, emaciated humanoid figure with reddish-brown skin. Instead of normal facial features, its head is dominated by an extremely large mouth, which bears a set of oversized human teeth. It continually vocalizes a wheezing noise loud enough to be heard from the other side of most solid doors. SCP-303 will periodically materialize behind any closed door, hatch, or other entryway barrier opposite an observer, chosen by unknown means. 303 will then remain behind the door for an indeterminate amount of time. Any individual attempting to open the door or barrier will experience intense, paralyzing fear that lasts until 303 dematerializes. However, analysis indicates that SCP-303 is not, in fact, purposefully inducing fear in the victims. SCP-303 does not allow itself to come into direct visual contact with any observer, and has never allowed any individual to view more than 10% of its form. When the door or other entryway barrier is partially or completely transparent, 303 will materialize in an orientation that leaves only 10% or less of its body visible, or cause effects of fog or frost on the transparent surface to achieve the same effect. If SCP-303 is approached from a direction in which there is not a solid object or door-breaking line of sight, it will dematerialize before direct visual contact is made. Any electronic or complex mechanical devices that 303 encounters will temporarily be disabled. 303 has made no recorded attempt to engage any observer physically or verbally. In an incident, a Foundation agent was showering in her private quarters bathroom when she became aware of the presence of 303 on the opposite side of the shower curtain. It was wheezing extremely loudly. Startled by the discovery, she accidentally struck the shower curtain, causing it to sway outwards. The curtain partially wrapped around 303, revealing that it was less than 0.5 meters from the curtain, standing erect and facing the shower. The agent reports spending approximately the next 3 hours sobbing in the shower, quietly, as not to disturb 303. Luckily, the agent was able to exit the shower when 303's wheezing stopped. In another incident, an agent encountered 303 inside the Foundation's break room. He was attempting to obtain coffee creamer from the counter cabinet when he heard loud wheezing emanating from the cabinet and was overtaken by overwhelming fear. The agent later reported that 303 was huddled in the cabinet in a fetal position. The agent was too afraid to open the cabinet at that moment, but later, when the cabinet was examined, one container of powdered coffee creamer was missing. This is the first recorded instance of SCP-303 removing an object from a scene. After the object missing incident,
James,
the professor was
come
discovered
to the
dead
office,
from
please.
dehydration in a second-floor storage
James.
room.
Wonder what they want. Finally, some backup came. Can I go in? They'll handle it. What's up? I'm sorry to say, but you're getting demoted to quit, to declass. Why? Because I show you, you know what I mean. The guys will be here in a minute. They will escort you to site 14. And you will be declassed there. So if you want, stay here. Fine. I guess it's time to go.